In March of 2019, the unthinkable happened. Rob Gronkowski, the human IPA, the walking frat party, the most unstoppable tight end in NFL history, retired at just 29 years old.
Tight end Rob Gronkowski announcing his retirement from the NFL. Gronk breaking the news on Instagram Sunday night, explaining, "I will be retiring from the game of football today." The five-time Pro Bowler went on to thank the organization for his opportunities and, quote, "Thank you for everyone accepting who I am and the dedication I have put into my work to be the best player I could be."
And just like that, it was over. Years of injuries, surgeries, and hits had finally caught up.
Surprised by Gronk's announcement.
I was not.
Gronkowski says that football was bringing him down, just 29 when he retired.
Players and coaches called him the greatest tight end ever. Fans would remember the touchdowns, the parties, the chaos. And when he finally walked away, it felt like the story wasn't finished. So what came after wasn't just a comeback, it was a resurrection. This is the story of Rob Gronkowski, the NFL rock star who played until he broke, then came back and destroyed everyone. Rob Gronkowski was born into one of the most athletic families America has ever seen. In just his immediate family, he has a mom who played basketball in high school, a dad who was a football guard at Syracuse, a brother who went on to the Angels MLB team, and three others who all played in the NFL. The average college football player has a 1.6% chance of getting into the NFL, and the Gronks, well, they had 4. They must have been feeding them Tren for breakfast and peptides for lunch. And if all that wasn't enough pressure, his gramps was an Olympic cyclist that casually set 5 world records. So Gronk basically grew up in the Incredibles family. But unlike most other NFL legends, no one was betting on him to be good at football, because he played hockey until 14, then was a center in basketball, a first baseman in baseball, and then played tight end, defensive end, and weirdly enough, kicker in football. He literally only took up football as another side hustle to see what sport fit him best. And well, it was pretty clear which one that was. Because as a junior, he scored 36 receptions for 648 yards and 7 touchdowns. On defense, he put up 73 tackles and 6 sacks. And in one game, Gronk scored all of his team's points with a catch, fumble recovery, and safety. Dude was a literal cheat code for his high school. But on the flip side, he had to be taken out of the game pretty often. Since he was so big as a high schooler, the only way to defend him was with a double or even triple team. So he got hit a lot. And since he got hit a lot, he got mad a lot. So when his temper started rising, the coaches would pull him before he got too high on the Gronkometer. Yeah, they seriously had a scale to pull him out of the game before he hulked out and sent 16-year-olds to the hospital. Luckily, they didn't have to worry for too long about that, because for his senior year, Gronk transferred to the Western Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic League. Basically, if you're trying to get to the big leagues, that's where you went. He went 8 receptions for 152 yards. So, major schools started taking notice.
My top 4 was Ohio State, Clemson, Syracuse, because it was right down the street, about 3 hours away from Buffalo, and Arizona. So those were my top 4 schools. And I had actually had the wildest recruiting visit to the University of Clemson. I had one of the best times.
But his best time wasn't completely focused on football. Because even though that's why he got recruited, Gronk's frat alter ego was released for the first time during his tours of Clemson and Ohio State.
What's this story?
I mean, I remember I was on a bar, I was dancing, and then I don't know, there was cheerleaders there, and I was just going ham like I usually go ham. Like, that's all I wanted to do. Like, hammer it off like apple juice and talk.
Yeah.
Apple juice hammered, and it was great time. Right there, I was hung over off apple juice there too. And that picture that went viral when I was in high school and took a visit there.
But even with the partying, 2 of the best schools in the U.S. wanted him badly. So, of course, he completely rejects them and goes to the University of Arizona? Listen, you're probably thinking he's an idiot for giving up the other offers, but there's a valid reason.
And he met a friend there that did the same exact thing that he does in Arizona. And that guy was an Arizona alumni, part of the Desert Storm defense and all that. And when we were growing up, he became my dad's good friend. And every time they went on these, business trips, they always met up. I was growing up, we were just kids. So he was in my dad's ear. Hey, when your kids, biggest Wildcat alumni, loves the Wildcat. Hey, when your kids grow up, they got to take a trip to University of Arizona. And this guy became really good friends with my dad. So you got to bring him to the University of Arizona.
So when his dad's buddy recruited Gronk's older brothers, Gronk figured, why not tag along?
And I got to the campus, I was like, God damn, man, what kind of school is this? I mean, they got pools, they got palm trees. I mean, it's sunny every single day. It's 90 degrees. And that's when I first fell in love with the University of Arizona. I tell you, Ohio State, Clemson, you can't beat their facilities. You can't beat their organization. You can't beat the crowd. You can't beat their stadium. But it just wasn't my fit. In Ohio State, though, I mean, I was blown away about everything. But at the same time, I was like, I can have all this if I make it to the NFL.
That's some unreal confidence to have at 17. So by the time he got to Arizona, he was an absolute animal. But his success wasn't limited to those stats. He also leveraged 18.8 yards per catch. And that stat wasn't just the best on the team. It set the school record for tight end. Gronk seriously became an Arizona legend before turning 20. And you know, with those kind of stats, he had to take some time to celebrate. So he and his brother, who also went to Arizona, pulled their money, found a place in Tucson, and just went balls to the wall.
The slip and slide created because we got home from an after party. My brother took the soap and just started squirting it everywhere in the house. He took the faucet off the fountain, started spraying the water everywhere at people, and we're like, what's going on? What's he doing? And the next thing you know, we started sliding, and it was this one person decided just to run full speed, jump on the ground, and just slide across. We all thought it was pretty cool. And we all just hopped in. Next thing you know, we were in our boxers, our bras and stuff. And
our bras? What do you mean, our bras?
My brother somehow always wore like a piece of a woman's clothing. Rules were you just had to run full speed and give it your best try every time. We just never let anyone that's gonna do like a week trial go through our kitchen and get slide like 2 feet.
Yeah.
It was always full go, and it was wild. And you always slid out the back door if you had a good slide, so that was pretty dangerous too. You always were scraped up when you were done by the end of the night.
But that was just the beginning.
So we literally took our bank accounts and took everything out, withdraw all the money. I had like $10 left for college.
Yeah.
My brother did it. We all combined.
You spent all your college money on a hot tub.
Yes. We went there. We went to the store. My brother negotiated down to like $1,500 so we could get this hot tub. We finally got it in the backyard, and we needed some maintenance on it even after like the first week. It was mad dirty. Like we had like 20 people in it after one night. It was just a blast, but it was a great investment.
Great investment is a strong way to put it, but after he got his freshman year partying out of him, he locked back in for season 2 of Arizona football. And he trained so hard for his sophomore year, he went from an animal to a straight-up freak of nature. Because even though he missed the first 3 games due to strep throat, he still went off. Dude got 47 receptions, 672 yards, and 10 touchdowns, 5 of which he got in his first 2 games back. And that's after missing basically a quarter of the year. Twice he got named National Tight End of the Week and continued to break school records. Well, more like continued to make school records, because he owned every single one for tight ends, including single-season receptions, career yards, and career touchdowns. So he was being put on the Lombardi Trophy watch list before he was even halfway through school. But unfortunately, he wouldn't be on those watch lists for long, because in 2009, right before his junior year started, a back injury hit. It was only his first one, but it still wiped him out for the entire year. All that hype he'd been building and all the NFL scouts ready to make an investment vanished. But this is what sets Gronk apart, because while other athletes probably would have gone to some dark places after that, Gronk just acted like it was business as usual, meaning more fun, more booze, and more parties. Like when he worked security for a bachelorette party. And that's where the story would normally end, but not for good old Gronk, because once the ladies started pouring drinks, they had him stripped down to his boxers. Then he volunteered to give lap dances and got singles raining on him all night. But by far his craziest night was when he was out hosting a JUCO recruit.
Basically, we were at a party and got broken up, and there was always a helicopter that broke it up, and everyone started running. And just the premises of the story is the helicopter followed up. Yeah, I hosted one player, and we got chased by a helicopter.
No, you didn't.
I swear.
What do you mean you got chased by a helicopter?
We got chased by a helicopter. I hid under a car. Yeah, and this recruit was running around with me. He was a top JUCO recruit. I thought I definitely sold him. I thought he was definitely coming to the university. Yeah, but we got away.
Scot-free.
It helped my skills, helped my football skills on the field.
So
if you can get away from a helicopter, you can get away from a defender.
Unsurprisingly, that was Gronk's last night hosting a recruit. But it wouldn't be long before Gronk was the one getting scouted again. Because even though he took a year off to get his back healed, some NFL teams were still willing to risk it all for him on their team. I mean, to be fair, a 6'6", 250-pound, record-breaking tight end is hard to pass up regardless of injuries. So the Patriots, Ravens, Broncos, Bills, and even the Jaguars were all looking to bring him on. And for the most part, all of his pre-draft visits went well until the final one, which was, of course, with the Patriots. Not only was Gronk tired from all the visits, he was hungover from partying all night and was completely done with flying all over the country. So this was the result.
I show up, bro. I was so tired. First thing I do is fall asleep in Nancy's office. Yeah, Bill Belichick heard all about it. He couldn't believe it. And then I go into the interview session, and Billy O'Brien draws a play up, and then he erases on the board. He's like, all right, can you name what the wide receivers did, like rename their route and what their responsibility was, I was like, bro, I have no clue. I couldn't even think. And then he's like, what do you do? I was like, you just throw me the ball, Billy. I'll make some guys miss. I'll run over some people. He's like, but you don't know the play. I was like, I don't need to know the play. You throw me the ball. Like, that's basically how our interview went. And then I literally walked out of there, called Drew Rosenhaus. I said, this team is either going to take me or they're laughing at me. And I give no because I'm over this whole process.
And after that embarrassment of a visit, everything was up in the air. The Bills were tempted, but didn't bite. The Ravens had their eyes on him too, and they actually held the spot ahead of the Pats. But that's when the draft shifted forever. Baltimore made what looked like a small trade. They gave New England their 43rd pick in exchange for the 44th and an extra 4th rounder. Basically, they slid back one spot and thought nothing of it. There was no way Bill Belichick, the most button-up coach in the league, would gamble on the college party legend, right?
With the 42nd pick in the 2010 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Rob Gronkowski, tight end, Arizona.
And with that, Gronk was off to the races. It may have been a gamble for Belichick, but it didn't take long for New England to realize the type of gold they struck. His first catch wasn't anything crazy, 1 yard for a touchdown, but it showed that he had what it took to be a red zone target for the GOAT. But Brady wasn't the only player Gronk had great chemistry with. Over the next few weeks, he rotated with fellow rookie tight end Aaron Hernandez. Hernandez would stretch the field, Gronk would dominate the end zone, and with Brady at QB, they stacked win after win after win. But Gronk's true breakout? Week 10 versus the Steelers.
And the pass is caught. Touchdown, Rob Gronkowski. Fullback. Pass to the outside is caught by Gronkowski. Pressure. Brady going deep, and it's Gronkowski.
5 receptions, 72 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a record set as the first rookie in Patriots history to have a 3 TD receiving game. And of course, the Gronk spike that topped every one of them. By the time his first season was over, he had 42 receptions over 500 yards and 10 touchdowns, setting yet another record for the most receiving TDs by a rookie. Some players never adjust to the NFL. Most need years to grow in the league, but Gronk just needed about 2 hours of playtime. But partying after every game definitely helped.
I did all the stupid shit the smartest way possible.
I'm gonna work really hard at football so I can go party and get the most out of that.
There we go. That's exactly how it went. No doubt about it. And also, going out and the partying, it wasn't, throughout the week. It was only one night a week, or maybe possibly 2 nights a week during the off season. It wasn't an everyday thing. If it was an every night thing, then I would definitely never be where I am right now.
I don't know. Something tells me he could have pulled it off. Because for his 2011 season, he took partying and playing to the next level. Obviously, expectations were high for him after 2010. He signed a $54 million contract extension, the highest ever for a tight end at the time, and even had ESPN calling Gronk and Hernandez the best set of tight ends in the league. But no one expected Gronk alone to make the historic leap that he did. Within just 3 weeks of the season, Gronk put up 5 touchdowns, already matching half the record that he set. But just like his first season, Gronk exploded during the midseason. Even on a loss against the Giants, he still put up 8 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Then the next week, he put the exact same numbers, but with 2 touchdowns. And finally, in week 13, he pushed himself to the limits, caught 2 more touchdowns, and broke the NFL record for the most touchdowns scored in a single season by a tight end. This was only his second season, and he was making history. By the end of the season, he had almost doubled all his previous stats with literal Madden 11 numbers: 90 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 17 touchdowns. And combined with Aaron Hernandez, they hit 2,200 yards for 24 touchdowns, the most dynamic duo in the NFL. Although that was just the beginning of Gronk's NFL reign, it was the end of his 2011 one, because right when they needed him most.
You can see Rob Gronkowski, that left ankle.
Oh, that was just an ankle sprain, but geez, man. That Gronkometer must have been spiking, because it only forced him out of the game for a moment. And after regaining composure, he came right back in, finished the game, and then played through the Super Bowl on it. But that might have been for the worse, because when Tom Brady launched a Hail Mary, Gronk had a chance to save the game with a diving catch. But instead, thanks to his ankle, all he could do was limp on it before lunging a little too late. The Patriots lose, Gronk says he's going into recovery mode, and suddenly, the Gronk hype train is dead in its tracks. But doesn't mean the party stopped.
Yo soy fiesta.
Whether it was in a club, live on TV, or with a literal porn star, Gronk was out here living life to the fullest, even after losing a Super Bowl. But with that first injury on the books, reality was starting to creep in. And in 2012, just after 2 years in the NFL, the cracks started to show. Of course, he still had monster numbers that season: 55 catches, 790 yards, and 11 touchdowns, including 2 in his 11th game. But in that 11th game, he also caught something else: a fracture to his left forearm. It was Gronk's first injury that required surgery, so he was out for weeks. People expected him to be out for the rest of the season. But after taking hit after hit, injury after injury, the Gronkometer was firing up to 11. So just after 6 weeks, he decided he had enough of lying in bed all day and came back to play in the divisional round of the playoffs. Well, it turned out that 6 weeks was not enough. During the first quarter, he re-injured his arm, had to leave the game, and underwent another surgery. His buddy Aaron Hernandez was able to put up decent numbers without Gronk by his side, but it wasn't enough to keep the words injury prone from being attached to Gronk's name. So in 2013, Gronk finally tried to recover, but for real this time. He underwent 2 more surgeries by May, and another surgery on his back in June, the same injury that had haunted him since college. By early summer, he was finally on the mend, but soon, surgeries would be the least of his worries.
Accused killer Aaron Hernandez in cuffs in court, where the world learned what his alleged role was in the death of Odin Lloyd.
Aaron Hernandez was arrested and charged with murder. The same guy who had been headlining NFL reports as part of the most unstoppable tight end duo was gone.
And with everything going on, I was definitely shook when I heard that, when I heard everything about it.
I do have to ask you, when you heard about Aaron Hernandez, what you thought, what your reaction was?
Next question.
It had to be a shock for you. It had to be a shock for all your teammates.
Next question.
So when the funny guy is staring into your soul, it's probably a good sign you should move on. So that's what Gronk and the Patriots try to do, at least. The weight on Gronk was felt in the locker room. Not only did his best friend become a killer overnight, he also left Gronk to carry the tight end role alone while in the middle of rehabbing his body. But by the start of the season, it looked like Gronk was going to recover, and by October, he had, putting up 3 100-yard games in his first 6 games back. Despite losing his brother to a criminal sentencing and losing his play power to multiple wounds, Gronk was back at his A game. And if you want to be at your A game in sports betting this year, you gotta check out the sponsor of this video, MyBookie. Listen, betting on NFL games with your fantasy buddies is a good time, but if you're just waiting for Sunday to start betting, you're missing half the fun and half the money. College football's already popping off with insane covers, big wins, and even bigger blowouts. And MyBookie lets you get in on all of it. Game lines, player props, whatever you're into. But you know what's even better? They got it all under one roof, so you could even win big on the NFL Super Contest and Survivor Bowls. But the most clutch part is, if you're new, you can use our code REDZONE, and any bet you make up to $500 is fully covered. And get this, if you miss, it doesn't even matter. You'll get your money right back when you opt in using your Bet Back bonus token. So don't just sit on the sidelines until Sunday. Get ahead of the game and stack those wins with MyBookie. Again, that's code REDZONE over at MyBookie, where bettors win together. Because bragging rights are cool, but cashing in is even better. Anyways, back to what was happening to Gronk during his 2013 comeback. Because even though he was doing great, no good play goes unpunished. In November, when the Patriots went on their bye week, Gronk took that time to dance the night away as usual. But this time, he wasn't just dancing, he was getting a little racist with it.
I'm telling you this, stick to getting the dance. They told me you can only cook fried rice. Leslie Chow,
Not a great look when you're trying to re-enter the game, and especially not good when Richie Incognito just got kicked out the Dolphins for being racist. Now obviously he apologized, and the Patriots press told him to tone down the partying, but nothing was going to take the spotlight off of him now. And then December hit hard. Week 14 against the Browns, and Gronk was looking like himself again. Then midway through the third quarter, one play changed everything. Safety TJ Ward dove low, while Gronk's right knee bent even lower. In a flash, he tore both his MCL and ACL, and suddenly he was back in the hospital. It was brutal, and not just because his knee bent like a pretzel, but because Gronk was officially getting clocked as a risk. A double ligament tear isn't something you just walk off. It's career-threatening. And by the end of 2013, the unstoppable Gronk narrative had flipped. In just 3 years, he went from the league's best tight end to being injury-prone, to people wondering if he'll even play again. And by this point, Gronk himself didn't even know, saying in an interview, "I went down with a knee. I didn't know what to expect." That night, I was thinking all these crazy thoughts in my head. I was actually bawling out on the machine when I was getting x-rays on my knee. What's going on? Why is this happening? Am I ever gonna play football again? Am I done? His body was coming out from under him. He spent half a season without his best friend on his side, and he was at his breaking point. But if there's one thing Gronk wouldn't do, it was going down without a fight.
Obviously, I went through a lot of hectic, emotional events. It's a contact sport, every single play. And I'm just looking at my future now. When you're hurt, you just really don't feel part of the team. And you go in every day, see everyone, and I just see the guys working every day out at practice. And that motivates me too, to get back out there, seeing my teammates grinding every day. And I'm not out there grinding with them.
Sure, he made it to multiple Pro Bowls, AFC championships, and the Super Bowl, but he hadn't become a Super Bowl champion, the greatest success of any player. So with the Super Bowl in his sights, he came back in fall of 2014, fully recovered and ready to steamroll anyone who got in his way.
And down the field he goes! Gronkowski to the end zone for the touchdown.
Harder.
Slant, Gronk. 3-2-1, Gronk.
Better.
What a catch. The legend grows. What a catch by Gronkowski.
Faster.
Brady goes to Gronkowski. Gronkowski had been in motion. Look at that. There's your exclamation point. Wow.
Stronger.
Fires and completes it to Gronkowski. Fights off Monday. Heads for the goal line. Touchdown.
This man was back with a vengeance. By the end of the regular season, he didn't just look normal again. He looked better. With 82 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 12 touchdowns, he was firing on all cylinders. The Gronkometer couldn't even get to the danger zone this year because he was the one destroying defenders. And to seal the deal, he went to the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, clutched a touchdown, and finally got the ring he was chasing.
And after the wackiest lead-up to a Super Bowl ever, the New England Patriots are the NFL champions.
Look at him go.
He's got his moves going.
He's warming up.
Can't believe he was more chill after winning the Super Bowl than after losing it. And that is just Gronk being Gronk. But did he slow down there? No, no, no. In 2015, he showed that comeback wasn't just for 1 year, because he came back ready to get even better. In just that opening game, he caught 5 passes for nearly 100 yards and scored 3 of the Pats' 4 touchdowns against the Steelers. They must have absolutely hated him, because with that game, he also became the first player in NFL history to have multiple 3-touchdown reception games against them. And he just kept going, adding 400 yards and 6 touchdowns over the next 6 games. And another 100 against the Dolphins. But in the Patriots' first loss of the season, there was a scare.
Play action over the middle, and that's incomplete. Gronkowski, and he is hurt.
He takes a hard hit to the same previously injured knee and goes down writhing in pain. But this time, no big deal. He walked it off, came back the next week, and dropped another 87 yards and a touchdown against the Texans. And after the season ended, he put up a 3rd year with over 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns. But that's not even the craziest part, because after the postseason, as a damn tight end, he led the Patriots in every major receiving category: most receptions, most receiving yards, and most touchdowns. Those aren't even human numbers. Those are the type of numbers you see when you put on Madden rookie mode. But by 2016, he was way past rookie status, both on the field and off the field. Because right after his legendary 2015 season, he got right to work on partying. And for the first time ever, he wanted to bring his fans along for the ride. So he partnered with a theme cruise company and Norwegian Cruise Line to bring Gronk's party ship to life. And in February 2016, she made her first and only 3-day voyage filled to the brim with fans, booze, and more chaos than you could ever imagine. But Gronk didn't want to dance alone, so he actually got his dad on stage. That's a wild line to drop with his dad on stage. There were people proposing. Gronk was asking for a little too many favors.
They banging for good news.
And even performances from Waka Flocka and Flo Rida. It's safe to say someone probably did get pregnant that night, because on that ship, todos somos fiesta. But while Gronk was living it up on the seven seas, his body was waving the white flag. Non-stop boozing on a cruise ship, followed by 6 months of it during the offseason, was not helping his body survive 6 years straight of injuries. And you can only hold off a crumbling body for so long. So even though he was peaking in football and in raging, his body decided it had had enough. And in November of the 2016 season, he took a major hit. It may not have looked that bad, but Earl Thomas had just got revenge for losing in the Super Bowl. Gronk was out for a few weeks, but forced himself back into place as always. And as always, it was a mistake. Because in Week 16, midway through a game with the Jets, Gronk fell to the ground as his back fully gave out on him. He exited the field with a herniated disc and went straight to the injury reserve after the millionth surgery of his career. I seriously can't imagine the level of frustration he must have had. Not only was he out for the rest of the year, but he was out of the Super Bowl. That Super Bowl.
Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his 5th! What a comeback!
While the Patriots made history, all Gronk could do was watch. You know he partied with them anyway, despite not getting a second of game time. But he was nowhere near the same level of hype he had all his career, and that was the first sign that something was wrong. By 2017, Gronk was healthy again, but by this point, gauging his health was like spinning a roulette wheel every week. When his back gave out in 2016, the media immediately started talking about the potential reality that he gets traded. And that theory hadn't slowed down when the next season kicked off. The team was worried, the fans were worried, but Gronk, he couldn't care less. All he was there to do was win. But even if his body were to survive the 2017 season, there was no guarantee his temper would. It had been a problem dating all the way back to high school with the old Gronkometer, and every season saw it spike if he got injured. In fact, it was probably the reason he kept forcing himself back into games. Despite sprained ankles, torn ligaments, and herniated discs, he always wanted one chance to get back at whoever ruined his season, but most times he was carted off before he ever got the chance, left the rage alone in the locker room. However, fortunately for other players, Gronk suffered no injuries in 2017, but that didn't stop the Gronkometer from rising higher and higher throughout the season, because this time, Gronk was getting mad at the refs.
That was a time where Gronk was getting called for a lot of penalties. Every time Gronk would touch someone, they would throw a flag on Gronk. I would do like a little push off and they would throw a flag on me, so I was like, huh? But then at the same time, they could drape their arms all over him and not get called for any penalties. I got no help. The referee's like, yeah, you're just bigger, so we're just gonna let it be. Our own team started, getting on Gronk for that. And Gronk, I'm just trying to play ball.
And when you couple unfair calls with years of career-threatening injuries and a 260-pound freight train, you get what happened to Tre'Davious White. It was just a run-of-the-mill interception, except it wasn't. There was painfully honest pass interference that the refs barely batted an eye at. And for Gronk, that was enough reason to finally hit back.
And then Gronk, this is going to get flagged.
The Gronkometer went flying off the rails, and Gronk delivered a shoulder hit so hard it sent White into concussion protocol. Suddenly, the funny guy wasn't so funny anymore, and the media went wild. Gronk then delivered an apology.
So there was a lot of frustration, and I was just really frustrated at that moment. It just happened naturally through emotions and frustration, and just want to apologize to Tre'Davious White.
Bill Belichick even gave one post-game.
No, I understand. It was I'm sorry. Yeah, I apologize.
But no amount of explanations or apologies would make this right. So the league suspended him, and for the very first time in his career, the fun-loving image cracked. He gave no more public info about his state of mind when he made that hit, but he did give some comments privately to none other than the man who invented the Gronkometer, his high school football coach. "Mamo, I snapped," he said. That was all. To be fair, Gronk doesn't seem like the type of guy to trauma dump to anyone. So if he admitted something was off, you knew it was real. That hit on Tre'Davious was as real as it gets, and it marked the beginning of the end. Gronk still put up his usual God-tier stats in 2017, and an even more God-tier performance in the Super Bowl. But when they lost this time, he wasn't seen on a cruise or at a club. He just walked out of the stadium defeated and went home. At this point, the cracks weren't just in his body, but also his mind. Some were related to basic motivation, while others related to an astounding number of concussions.
I had 9 surgeries, probably had like 20 concussions in my life, like no lie. Probably like, I remember like 5 like blackout ones. Like
up until that point, the only public ones were from the game where he tore up his knee and from the AFC Championship earlier in the year. The fact that he was even able to stand, let alone play in the Super Bowl a week later, is a historic achievement on its own. It wasn't even until the Patriots 2018 training camp that the concussions really started to bleed into his gameplay. The man was working at 50% energy, dropping passes left and right, and the party hard vibe he used to give off was practically non-existent. That season didn't go terribly for him, but 682 yards for Gronk was an embarrassment compared to his previous seasons. Yet despite all the cracks, concussions, and doubts, he still came through when the Patriots needed him most. Because with Super Bowl 53 being an absolute slugfest, both teams were praying for a touchdown. By the fourth quarter, each team had only put up a single field goal. On one hand, it was the most boring game of all time, but on the other, a complete nail-biter. So who would get the touchdown to win it all? Well, Gronk managed to answer that question in the fourth quarter when he caught a 29-yard pass from Brady that finally put the Patriots at the goal line. It wasn't an all-time Gronk play. He couldn't quite cross into the end zone, but it was clutch, and it would be his last great act as a Patriot.
And wherever I go, Patriot fans always ask, am I coming back? When I'm coming back? Where am I coming back? I'm walking across the street and they're like, you're walking because you're coming back. It's crazy. I understand. I feel that love. But I want to be clear to my fans. I needed to recover. I was not in a good place. Football was bringing me down, and I didn't like it. And I was losing that joy in life, like the joy. I'm sorry right now, but dang, I really was, and I was fighting through it. And I knew what I signed up for, and I knew what I was fighting through. And I knew I just have to fix myself.
He didn't spike the football. He didn't show off his dance moves one last time. Instead, Rob Gronkowski retired from football, choking back tears, and told the world that the joy was gone. And for a while, it looked like the party was really over. He slimmed down, lost the football weight, and focused on his relationship with Camille Kostek. Oh yeah, this entire time, the dude was dating a supermodel, truly a generational talent of our time. So for the first time in his life, he was actually able to enjoy that rare privilege. But focusing on his relationship was also the analyst and even winning awards for humanitarian efforts. He also hosted the New Year's Eve Live with Steve Harvey briefly, but with 20 concussions riding on his skull, it didn't quite go as planned.
What are you doing? Are you serious? I don't want to work with him no more. Why is he here? Why are you here? What is wrong with you? You're mentally imbalanced.
But in general, it seemed like he finally found a way to live life without parties, booze, cruises, and most importantly, without football. And right at the point when fans had pretty much given up hope, Gronk got a call from an old friend.
A little tired, but Gronk reported.
Tom Brady had already shocked the world once when he left the Patriots for Tampa Bay in March of 2020. But when it was announced that Gronk would be coming out of retirement to team up with Brady for one last ring, the world lost its mind.
Rob Gronkowski is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. No, really, I'm not kidding you. Rob Gronkowski is coming out of retirement, and the Patriots have agreed to terms on a deal that would send him to Tampa to be reunited with Tom Brady.
People legit thought it was a joke. Not only was he busy stealing championships in the WWE, but his rights were also still technically held by the Patriots. But after Brady legit strong-armed the Pats head coach into releasing Gronk, Tampa and New England made a deal. Tampa would receive a 7th-round pick in Gronk, while the Patriots would take a 4th-rounder. And just like that, Gronk was out in Tampa, shaking off the rust, ready for one last wild ride. Though, it didn't start out too wild. After a year out of the game, Gronk struggled to return to form off the rip, so he was mainly relegated to blocking defenders. You know, like what a tight end mostly should do. But after just 5 games, he was looking like he'd never left the game. Against the Packers, 5 receptions, 78 yards, 1 touchdown. Against the Chiefs, 6 receptions for 106 yards. Little by little, the rust came off. By the end of the season, he was dragging defenders again and spiking touchdowns like it was 2011. And by the season's end, he'd put up 45 receptions for 623 yards and 7 touchdowns. Gronk was by no means reliving the glory days of his career, but he proved he could still destroy everyone, even with a full year taken off. Then came the Super Bowl. Everyone expected Brady to blow through the Chiefs, but even after a decent season, people were still unsure whether Gronk had what it took to score in the Super Bowl again. But man, did he prove his doubters wrong.
Brady's pass, it's Gronkowski! Play action. Looking,
Third option, end zone, caught!
God, it's so nice to see the Chiefs get obliterated, especially by the GOATs. But it wasn't just Tom Brady who made history with their win over Kansas City, because with those 2 touchdown receptions, Gronk and Brady passed Montana and Rice for the most playoff touchdowns ever and iced the record. The Bucs made history that night with the GOAT. Everyone got to see the return of a king, and Gronk's comeback was sealed. And if we know anything about Gronk, you know he also had to make a comeback to the party scene post-Super Bowl.
Yes, Cam! Yo!
Now that is how you celebrate a Super Bowl win. So after his 4th ring, Gronk opted to stay in the NFL for another season with the Bucs and Brady. And did he actually put up better numbers? Yeah, dude hit over 800 yards and 6 touchdowns in 2021. But when he got injured for the somethingth time, well, he figured it was actually time to call it quits. So in 2022, Gronk declined to play a 3rd year and walked away for good. But this time, there were no tears, just a satisfying close. Sure, he has more concussions than NBA teams have players, and more surgeries than a cancer patient. But look at the stats he left behind. He made 3 NFL records, 4 Patriots franchise records, was a 5-time Pro Bowler, a 4-time first-team All-Pro, and had 10,675 yards and 92 touchdowns. That's just the numbers. And Gronk was bigger than stats. He was the perfect storm of chaos and control. The man dominated linebackers and safeties every Sunday, while having enough energy to take the stage in Vegas by Monday. He never played so hard that he couldn't party, and never partied so hard that he couldn't play. As he once said, everyone thinks I'm trouble 24/7. Well, what have I really done besides dance? That's the legacy. He didn't just play harder or party harder than anyone. He did both to the absolute max. And in the process, he partied his way straight into the Hall of Fame.